In what can only be described as one of the most amazing and electrifying moments ever witnessed in a courtroom, Elon Musk, the visionary entrepreneur, took center stage amid a tension so thick it could be cut with a knife. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation and raw emotion as the day's legal battles neared their climax. From the very first moment, it was clear that something extraordinary was about to unfold, a moment that would be remembered as one of the greatest courtroom showdowns in history. The scene opened in an unusually silent courtroom where every eye was fixed on the proceedings. The air was heavy with unspoken tension, as the judge, renowned for his strict demeanor and unwavering commitment to the letter of the law, prepared to confront one of the world's most influential figures. Elon Musk sat composed in the front row, his gaze steely and unyielding as he faced Judge John Peterson, a man whose reputation for no-nonsense rulings was known far and wide. The day had been long and fraught with intense legal arguments, but what was about to happen next would eclipse all previous proceedings. Judge Peterson, his voice icy and measured, recounted the gravity of the charges brought against Musk. It was a matter of public concern. Remarks made during a recent interview had incited panic among investors and stirred controversy over the potential dangers of artificial intelligence. The judge's tone left no room for ambiguity. Musk's words had been deemed reckless, irresponsible, and in violation of the strict decorum expected in the court of law. Yet, despite the mounting pressure and the weight of every eye upon him, Elon Musk remained calm, a pillar of unflappable resolve. As the judge pressed on with his criticisms, every sentence and every nuance of his stern lecture was met with an unreadable expression on Musk's face. In his mind, every word was dissected and analyzed, not only as a defense of his statements, but as a challenge to the very fabric of conventional wisdom. His legal team, comprised of some of the most high-powered attorneys, sat behind him, their expressions a mix of admiration for his daring and anxiety over the precarious balance of power in the room. It was then that a palpable shift began to take shape, a transformation in the energy that pervaded the courtroom. As the judge's voice rose with an undercurrent of disdain, emphasizing the disproportionate influence Musk held over the public, the tension escalated. Every spectator, every member of the jury seemed to lean in as if drawn by an invisible force, sensing that the moment was ripe for an unexpected turn of events. In a slow, deliberate motion that would forever alter the dynamics of the trial, Musk rose from his seat. The silent anticipation reached its zenith as he moved deliberately toward the center of the room. Then, in one breathtaking instant that defied expectations, he reached into his jacket pocket and produced a small, unassuming card. With a swift and confident flick of his wrist, he flashed it across the courtroom, a U.S. Secret Service badge, official and unmistakable. The reaction was instantaneous and dramatic. In that single, decisive gesture, the entire courtroom was thrown into a stunned silence. The badge's gleam caught the light, and its significance was not lost on anyone present. The atmosphere shifted as the judge's face, once so resolute and unyielding, now betrayed a flash of hesitation. For a moment, the judge's hand, which had been poised to deliver further reproof, hung motionless in midair, a silent acknowledgement of the profound implications of Musk's action. In that heartbeat of time, the balance of power had irrevocably shifted. The presence of the U.S. Secret Service badge was not merely a symbol of protection. It was a declaration of authority from the highest echelons of national security. Elon Musk, though known for his bold and provocative nature, had now introduced a factor that transcended the usual bounds of courtroom drama. The badge, with its weighty significance, resonated with every individual in the room, lawyers, jurors, reporters, and onlookers alike, altering the narrative from a mere legal dispute to a battle of influence and control. The judge, his earlier arrogance now replaced by a guarded uncertainty, was forced to reckon with the reality that Musk was not simply a controversial billionaire, but a man shielded by the formidable power of the nation's security apparatus. The courtroom, which had been a stage for legal rhetoric and pointed criticism, had become the arena for an unexpected confrontation, a showdown between tradition and innovation, between the established order and a maverick determined to challenge it. As the weight of the moment settled over the room, Elon Musk's quiet yet defiant composure spoke volumes. Without uttering another word, he signified that he would not be cowed by the stringent expectations of the courtroom. His act was not a mere display of power, but a clarion call for those who believed in the necessity of questioning the status quo, a subtle reminder that sometimes to safeguard the future, one must dare to upend the present. And then, as the silence deepened and the implications of his gesture rippled through the gathered crowd, Musk made his exit. With a measured step and a final, enigmatic glance back at the judge, whose expression now mingled disbelief with reluctant respect, he left the courtroom. The departure was as deliberate as it was dramatic, leaving behind an aura of unresolved tension and a promise that the day's events were far from over. In that charged moment, the courtroom had transformed from a venue of legal adjudication into a battleground of ideas and power, a stage where a simple flash of a badge had become the catalyst for an epic confrontation. What had begun as a routine legal proceeding had evolved into a historical turning point, setting the stage for a conflict that would not only challenge conventional wisdom, but also redefine the boundaries of innovation, authority, and freedom. The scene was now set for the next chapter of this astonishing saga, a tale that would unfold with further twists and turns, each more gripping than the last. With hearts pounding and minds racing, every spectator in that room knew that they had just witnessed a prelude to something far greater than any courtroom drama before. The stakes were monumental, and the battle for control of the narrative, for the future of technology and innovation, had only just begun. In the hours following that breathtaking courtroom spectacle, a tremor of anticipation rippled through every corner of the legal world and beyond. News of Elon Musk's bold move, flashing the U.S. Secret Service badge, had ignited a frenzy of speculation and wonder. The once sterile atmosphere of judicial proceedings had been transformed into a theater of high stakes, where the boundaries between law, power, and national security blurred in the wake of one extraordinary gesture. As the courtroom emptied, hushed conversations and whispered debates filled the corridors of the courthouse. Legal experts and media pundits alike pored over every detail of the incident, dissecting the implications of Musk's subtle defiance. Outside, on busy city streets and in quiet newsrooms, the story had taken on mythic proportions. It was as if the world had collectively paused to absorb the profound symbolism of a billionaire standing unflinching before authority itself. Elsewhere, within the secure confines of his private residence, Musk prepared for the next phase of his multifaceted battle. Though his expression remained unreadable, his mind was a whirlwind of plans and calculations. Behind the calm exterior lay a torrent of determination, an unyielding resolve to defend not only his reputation, but also the bold ideas he championed. The act of challenging a venerable institution had become a rallying cry for innovation and freedom of expression, a call to re-examine outdated paradigms in an era when technology was reshaping the world. Simultaneously, the courtroom saga set in motion a cascade of unforeseen events. In a state-of-the-art media control center, a dedicated team of investigative journalists began tracing the origins of the controversy. They reviewed court transcripts, scrutinized every nuance of Musk's statements, and interviewed insiders whose guarded whispers hinted at an undercurrent of revolution in the legal system. The narrative quickly morphed into something more than a single legal dispute. It evolved into an emblem of defiance against a system perceived as resistant to change. The very idea that a single, meticulously timed gesture could challenge the established order resonated deeply with millions across the globe. Within the hallowed halls of justice, Judge Peterson, now visibly unsettled by the unexpected turn of events, retreated into solitude to reassess his own authority. The badge's sudden appearance had shattered his previously unassailable confidence, compelling him to grapple with the dual imperatives of upholding the law while acknowledging the weight of national security. In his private chambers, the judge weighed the repercussions of his own rigidity against the shifting currents of modernity. The legacy of this trial would not merely be measured in legal precedents, but in the evolving dynamics of power and accountability. As the ripples of that historic moment spread outward, a parallel narrative was unfolding behind closed doors. Elon Musk's inner circle, a cadre of seasoned legal strategists, technological experts, and trusted advisors, gathered in an opulent, secure meeting room. Here, they debated the ramifications of the courtroom showdown with a sense of urgency that bordered on the apocalyptic. Every detail was scrutinized. The possibility that Musk's bold display had sent a message far beyond the confines of that room. The prospect that it could galvanize both supporters and detractors into action, and the chilling realization that his next moves might shape the trajectory of global discourse on technological progress and public responsibility. In a realm where innovation met authority, Musk's latest gambit became a potent symbol of a much larger struggle. It was not merely about a legal reprieve from the criticisms of reckless commentary, it was a battle for the very soul of progress. The flash of that badge had served as a dramatic pivot, reorienting the conversation from one of personal accountability to one of societal transformation. The very essence of free speech and the right to challenge established norms in the pursuit of better, more audacious ideas now hung in the balance. As dusk turned to night and the city lights flickered on like stars reclaiming the heavens, Musk's legacy was being rewritten in real time. Far from the glare of public scrutiny, he retreated into a private war room where the weight of global expectation pressed down on him like an unseen force. Charts, data streams, and complex schematics filled digital screens, each symbol a reminder of the monumental challenges ahead. The legal confrontation had merely been the opening act. The true battle lay in the uncharted territories of public opinion and the relentless march of technological advancement. In this charged environment, every decision carried the potential to alter the future. Musk's resolve crystallized into a singular vision: to champion the necessity of risk-taking in a world mired in convention, to defend the imperative of innovation against forces that would stifle progress. His actions had ignited a debate that transcended legal technicalities, a debate about the power of ideas, the responsibility of the influential, and the delicate balance between security and freedom. Beyond the walls of the courthouse, the world was beginning to stir. In boardrooms, in bustling cafes, and in the quiet corners of libraries, people discussed the implications of the day's events. Social media erupted with both praise and outrage, each post a digital testament to the polarizing figure that Musk had become. His unyielding stand had not only redefined a courtroom battle, but had also planted the seeds for a broader revolution in how society viewed the intersection of technology, governance, and individual empowerment. As the night deepened and the echoes of the courtroom drama began to fade into the background, a new chapter was unfolding. Behind closed doors and secure facilities, key players across industries and governments were recalibrating their strategies. They understood that the era of unchallenged authority was drawing to a close, and that the brave act of one man had set the stage for a seismic shift in the global order. The stakes had grown exponentially higher, and every subsequent move would be scrutinized, debated, and remembered. In the quiet after the storm, with the weight of history pressing in from every side, Elon Musk prepared for what was to come. The battle for innovation, for freedom of expression, and for a future defined by daring vision rather than stifling tradition had only just begun. As the world braced itself for the next phase in this unfolding drama, one truth emerged with crystal clarity. The confrontation between old order and new vision was inevitable, and it would be fought with every ounce of determination and ingenuity that defined the spirit of the age. In the aftermath of that unforgettable courtroom episode, the world shifted gears as if caught in the eye of a storm. Overnight, Elon Musk's bold display ignited debates on every platform. News cycles spun with wild theories, think tanks buzzed with predictions, and ordinary citizens found themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about power, technology, and accountability. As dawn broke over a city still reeling from the courtroom drama, Musk slipped into a state of relentless focus. Far from basking in the public adulation or harsh criticism, he had already assembled his inner circle in a high-security command center deep within his private compound. In a room awash with the glow of multiple digital screens, a sprawling web of data and analytics, the team pored over every emerging detail, from stock market ripples to trending social media hashtags, each indicator pointing to a seismic shift in public sentiment. In this war room, discussions were as intense as the moments in the courtroom. Musk's trusted advisors, legal strategists, and technological experts debated with a sense of urgency. They knew that his daring act was only the opening salvo in a battle that would redefine how authority and innovation coexisted in the modern age. Every keystroke on the keyboards, every flash of insight on the monitors resonated with the promise of change and the peril that came with it. Meanwhile, the media machine roared to life. Leading news networks and digital platforms raced to piece together the implications of that single flash of a badge. Editorials claimed that Musk had not only challenged the courtroom's rigid structures, but had also signaled a broader resistance against outdated systems of control. Influencers and pundits debated heatedly. Was this a calculated political maneuver or merely a spur-of-the-moment act of defiance? In smoky backrooms and brightly lit studios alike, the narrative was evolving and the story was far from over. But behind the scenes, a more intricate drama was unfolding. In various secretive locations around the globe, powerful figures in government, finance, and technology convened in hushed, urgent meetings. Their goal? To evaluate the far-reaching impact of Musk's unprecedented move. For many, the act was a harbinger of a new era, an era where traditional hierarchies might no longer dictate the future of innovation. For others, it was a dangerous signal that could unravel the carefully maintained order of power. In one such shadowed conference room in a skyscraper overlooking a sleepless metropolis, a senior government advisor mulled over a thick dossier filled with intelligence reports. The dossier detailed the cascading effects of Musk's bold gesture. Stock prices fluctuating wildly, emergency meetings being called in various regulatory agencies, and whispers of potential reforms in national security protocols. There was a palpable tension in the air. The very idea that a single individual could tilt the balance was as exhilarating as it was terrifying. Back at Musk's command center, the atmosphere was equally charged. Musk, ever the strategist, had not allowed the uproar to distract him. Instead, he directed his team to use this momentum to push forward with his long-held vision, a future where innovation was unbound by archaic systems and where daring ideas could flourish without fear of reprisal. Every plan, every project, from advanced AI to space exploration, was now under renewed scrutiny, its potential re-examined in the light of this new narrative of defiance and possibility. Amid the flurry of activity, a breakthrough emerged from an unexpected source, a confidential tip from within the federal system. An insider had anonymously provided detailed documents suggesting that the legal charges against Musk might have been part of a larger attempt to stifle disruptive innovation. These documents hinted at a covert alliance between certain regulatory bodies and entrenched financial interests, a collusion designed to maintain a status quo that was rapidly becoming obsolete in the face of technological revolutions. As the evidence was scrutinized and corroborated by Musk's legal team, it became increasingly clear that the stakes of this battle went far beyond personal reputation. It was a fight for the right to innovate, for the freedom to explore radical ideas without being shackled by the fear of disproportionate consequences. Every analyst in the war room felt the weight of history on their shoulders. A defining moment that could either propel humanity toward a more open, progressive future, or plunge it into a period of repressive conservatism. The narrative began to crystallize into a profound confrontation between the old order and the new spirit of innovation. Musk's act of defiance in the courtroom had morphed into a symbol, a rallying point for those who believed that progress demanded risks, and that true breakthroughs were born from challenging the established norms. The world was on the cusp of transformation, and every passing moment amplified the urgency of the coming changes. Yet, for all the hope and possibility that this movement inspired, there remained an undercurrent of tension and uncertainty. Powerful adversaries whose influence spanned the globe were already mobilizing to counter this surge of revolutionary thought. Behind closed doors in secret meetings cloaked in anonymity, plans were being devised to reclaim control, to neutralize the momentum that Musk's bold gesture had set in motion. As the sun climbed higher and the day advanced, Musk's team prepared for the next phase, a strategic initiative designed to expose the hidden networks that sought to suppress innovation and control the future. With meticulous precision, they began mapping out the complex web of interests that had conspired to undermine disruptive technologies. Every piece of data, every anonymous tip, was carefully analyzed to reveal the underlying structure of this covert opposition. In that moment, the air in the command center was electric with resolve. The battle lines had been drawn, not merely in a courtroom or in the corridors of power, but across the very fabric of society. Elon Musk, with his unyielding spirit and relentless drive, stood at the forefront of a movement that promised to redefine what it meant to be truly free in the age of technology. As dusk settled into night, the unfolding saga took on an almost mythic quality. In the sprawling command center deep within Musk's fortified compound, every screen flickered with streams of data, encrypted messages, and global news alerts that painted a picture of a world in rapid transformation. The stakes had grown astronomically higher. This was no longer a mere courtroom battle or a media sensation. It was a full-blown war for the future, a high-octane contest between radical innovation and the entrenched powers determined to stifle it. In that dimly lit room, illuminated by the glow of countless monitors, Musk and his closest advisors gathered around a massive digital table. Detailed maps, flowcharts, and intercepted communications were sprawled out before them, a mosaic of hidden networks and shadow alliances. Their eyes scanned the data, every anomaly and encrypted phrase adding another layer to the unfolding mystery of how far the opposition's grip had spread. There were whispers of covert partnerships between regulatory agencies, multinational financial institutions, and secretive corporate entities, all working in tandem to rein in disruptive forces that threaten the status quo. Musk's voice, steady and resolute, cut through the murmur of urgent discussions. "We knew this wouldn't be an isolated incident," he declared, his gaze fixed on the digital projections. "What we have here is a global web of control, a labyrinth designed to keep innovation confined and to dictate every major decision that shapes our world. It's time we dismantle it piece by piece." At that moment, one of his lead data analysts, a sharp-minded individual known only by the codename Cypher, projected a series of interconnected nodes on the central screen. "Elon, look here," Cypher said, pointing to a cluster of activity that spanned across continents. "These nodes represent shell companies and covert financial transactions that funnel resources into projects designed to maintain the current order. Every link we sever here is a blow against the hidden network trying to keep us in check." The room fell silent as the enormity of the task sank in. There were dozens of these nodes, each representing decades of clandestine planning, and dismantling them would not be easy. But Musk's eyes shone with determination. "We expose them all," he stated firmly. "We show the world how deeply these forces have infiltrated every facet of our lives, from the technology we rely on to the very governments meant to protect us." Outside, across the globe, a parallel drama was unfolding. In sleek government offices, high-ranking officials and intelligence operatives huddled in emergency sessions. The news of Musk's defiant act in court had forced even the most conservative factions to re-examine their own positions. For many, the realization was chilling. The forces they had long relied on to maintain control were crumbling under the weight of transparency and public scrutiny. Heated debates broke out in secure rooms. Some called for swift retaliation, while others advocated for cautious reformation. In the corridors of power, alliances that had seemed unshakable were beginning to fracture. Back at the command center, the urgency escalated further when an encrypted message arrived from an unexpected ally, an influential whistleblower from within one of the major intelligence agencies. The message was brief, but its content was explosive. It contained a detailed dossier outlining covert projects, secret meetings between corporate moguls and government officials, and even evidence of direct interference in global markets designed to suppress technological innovation. The dossier was signed with a single cryptic moniker, Elysium. Musk's advisors crowded around as the contents of the dossier were decrypted in real time. Every page revealed a layer of the conspiracy that extended far beyond anything they had imagined. There were detailed blueprints of surveillance systems embedded in everyday technology, financial ledgers showing illicit transactions amounting to billions, and communications that hinted at a coordinated effort to derail any disruptive technological progress. One particularly damning section described a strategic disruption initiative, a plan engineered over decades to create crises, stoke public fear, and then exploit the chaos for profit and control. A heavy silence settled over the room as the implications became clear. Musk's face was a mask of controlled intensity. "This," he said quietly, "is the blueprint of everything they've been working towards. Every blackout, every economic downturn, every crisis, they were all calculated. And now, with the leaks and our data, the truth is out there for everyone to see." Cypher, fingers dancing across a holographic interface, added, "We now have the keys to unlock every hidden door in this network. But the opposition won't let us have it easy. We must move quickly, expose every node, and rally the public before they can orchestrate a counterattack." The plan that followed was as audacious as it was intricate. Over the next several hours, Musk's team split into specialized units, each tasked with penetrating different layers of the conspiratorial network. One group was dedicated to tracking financial flows, piecing together the money trail that fed the global machine of control. Another focused on infiltrating digital infrastructures that had long been shielded by state-of-the-art encryption. And a third, led by Cypher himself, was charged with orchestrating a coordinated media campaign designed to reveal the truth to the masses in a way that could not be ignored. In a specially outfitted mobile command vehicle parked outside the compound, a high-tech hub on wheels equipped with secure satellite communications and advanced hacking tools, the teams worked in tandem with military-grade precision. Every intercepted transmission, every discovered piece of evidence was relayed back to the command center. The atmosphere was electric, charged with the urgency of a race against time. At one point, as the digital clock on the wall ticked inexorably toward midnight, an alarm blared, a secure alert that one of the key nodes had detected an intrusion. The tension in the command center skyrocketed. "We've been compromised!" someone shouted. Instantly, red lights flashed across the control panels, and Cypher's fingers flew over the keys, countering the breach with a series of countermeasures. "Stand down!" Musk ordered, his voice calm but laced with steel. "We anticipated this. Push through the firewall. They can try to block us, but our signal will get through." For long, heart-stopping moments, the digital battlefield was a flurry of activity. A cat-and-mouse game where each side traded blows in the form of code and encryption. Finally, with a triumphant burst of light across the main screen, Cypher announced, "We're in! The node is ours." That victory was only the beginning. Across multiple time zones, coordinated strikes were launched simultaneously. Financial accounts linked to the shadow network were frozen, hidden communications were decrypted and uploaded to secure public servers, and strategic locations previously shrouded in secrecy were exposed to the relentless glare of investigative journalism. Social media platforms, once battlegrounds of disinformation, erupted with a wave of raw, unfiltered truth. Hashtags like #ExposeTheNetwork and #InnovateNotIncarcerate trended worldwide as citizens, scientists, and activists rallied behind the revelation that the forces of control had been operating in the shadows for far too long. Even as Musk's team celebrated their hard-fought victories in the digital realm, an ominous message arrived from the other side, a stark reminder that the enemy was not defeated yet. A terse, digitally scrambled communique, intercepted from an unknown source, warned, "This is only the beginning. You've crossed a line and the full might of our network will respond. Prepare for consequences." The message was signed with a symbol that, for a brief, chilling moment, sent shivers down the spine of every team member, a symbol long associated with clandestine organizations of immense power. Musk, unflinching as ever, gathered his senior advisors for an emergency meeting. The gravity of the situation was palpable. "They're mobilizing," one of his trusted aides reported. "We have evidence that high-level operatives are already shifting resources to counter our actions. This isn't just a digital skirmish, it's turning into a full-scale campaign." In that critical juncture, a decision had to be made. The team deliberated the possibility of escalating the information campaign, releasing further documents and orchestrating a series of public disclosures that would force the hand of global leaders. Yet they were also aware that such a move could provoke a dangerous backlash, a concerted counterattack from a network that had, until now, thrived in the shadows. After a tense pause that seemed to stretch for an eternity, Musk's voice resonated with unwavering determination. "We have come too far to back down now. The truth is our weapon, and we will not let fear paralyze us. We must expose every secret, every hidden agenda, and hold accountable those who have manipulated our world for their gain." We stand for innovation, for freedom, and for the future of humanity. The ensuing hours were a blur of relentless activity. With coordinated precision, Musk's teams orchestrated live broadcasts from secure locations, streamed unedited footage of their operations, and released meticulously verified documents to a global audience. Each revelation was timed to maximize its impact, building a crescendo of public outrage and a call to reform that could not be silenced. Newsrooms around the world struggled to keep pace with the torrent of information. Television networks interrupted regular programming for special bulletins. Social media exploded with live updates, and independent journalists worked around the clock to verify and amplify the story. In every corner of the globe, people began to question the foundations of power that had long been taken for granted. Amid this maelstrom, the resistance from the old guard grew more desperate. Secret meetings among high-ranking officials took on an increasingly frantic tone. There were reports of abrupt policy changes, emergency sessions in parliaments, and whispered conversations about national security that hinted at measures designed to suppress the growing tide of dissent. Yet, as attempts were made to contain the information, the public's thirst for the truth only deepened. In a final act of defiance, Musk arranged for a live global press conference, a rare moment when the world's eyes would be fixed not on the drama in backrooms, but on him. The stage was set in an enormous auditorium equipped with state-of-the-art technology, where millions could stream his address simultaneously. Standing at the podium under a single spotlight, Musk's voice carried across the digital ether as he addressed a world on the brink of transformation. "Tonight," he proclaimed, "we stand at a crossroads. For too long, hidden powers have dictated the course of our future from behind a veil of secrecy. But no more. The truth, our truth, is out, and it belongs to every one of you. Innovation must be free, unshackled by fear and control. We have exposed the networks that have sought to hold us back, and now it's up to us, citizens, innovators, leaders, to reclaim our future. Let this moment be the beginning of a new era where transparency, accountability, and the relentless pursuit of progress guide our path." His words resonated like a battle cry across the globe. As the press conference ended, the sound of applause and shouts of approval mingled with the distant rumble of political upheaval. Though the forces aligned against him were vast and resourceful, the seed of change had been planted deep within the collective consciousness of a world eager for transformation. Yet, even in that moment of triumph, a lingering shadow of uncertainty remained. The anonymous warning, the cryptic symbol, and the intercepted message all spoke of a counterforce that was not yet vanquished, a network of power that would continue to fight back in the shadows. The battle was far from over. But as the echoes of Musk's impassioned speech reverberated through the hearts of millions, one thing was clear. The era of silent manipulation was drawing to a close, and a new dawn of open innovation and fearless progress was on the horizon. In the stillness that followed, as screens dimmed and the digital storm gradually subsided, Musk's team remained on high alert. Every member knew that the coming days would be critical, a time when the balance between light and shadow, truth and deception, would be decided not by a single court ruling, but by the collective will of a world awakened to the possibilities of a future built on integrity and innovation. In the aftermath of the global press revelation, the world transformed into a stage where the struggle between clandestine control and unbridled innovation played out in stark, unyielding reality. The atmosphere was heavy with the gravity of change. The old order, once so unassailable, was crumbling under the collective weight of exposed secrets and the relentless momentum of truth. Across continents, the hidden networks that had long manipulated financial systems, governments, and technological advancements began to show signs of faltering. Behind closed doors, power brokers and high-ranking officials scrambled to re-establish control, their carefully constructed facades of authority slowly disintegrating as the revelations spread. The forces of tradition and suppression, having relied on silence and secrecy, now found themselves exposed to the light of a new era, an era where transparency reigned and the power of information became the ultimate weapon. Within his secure compound, Elon Musk immersed himself in the relentless flow of data and analysis. Surrounded by a vast array of screens, digital maps, and streams of encrypted communications, he surveyed the unfolding crisis with a calm intensity. Every intercepted file, every piece of evidence recovered from the shadow network, added to the mounting picture of an intricately woven conspiracy. Detailed records of illicit financial transactions, covert partnerships between multinational entities, and meticulously planned operations designed to disrupt global stability all testified to the depth of corruption that had governed the world from behind a veil of deception. The relentless team of experts comprising cybersecurity analysts, financial investigators, and research specialists labored tirelessly to decode and dismantle the remnants of that global network. In secure digital war rooms and isolated command centers, strategies were devised to trace every hidden node and every secret conduit of power. Advanced algorithms scoured massive datasets, uncovering patterns that revealed long-standing collusions and deliberate acts of manipulation. Each discovery served as a reminder that the struggle was not confined to a single event or moment, but was a battle waged over decades, with every exposed secret marking the beginning of a larger transformation. Throughout these hours, the world outside reacted in waves. Urban centers, once dominated by the hum of everyday routine, became arenas of heightened awareness. Public spaces and digital platforms buzzed with the impact of the revelations. Citizens, emboldened by the exposure of long-hidden truths, began to demand accountability from institutions that had for too long operated without oversight. Grassroots movements gathered momentum as communities organized peaceful protests and calls for reform echoed in every city and town. The seeds of a global transformation were taking root, nurtured by the shared desire for a future defined not by control and fear, but by opportunity and genuine progress. Institutions that had once been synonymous with power and influence, major banks, regulatory bodies, and even certain government agencies, now found themselves under intense scrutiny. Internal investigations were launched, and once-forgotten whistleblower testimonies emerged to corroborate the damning evidence. Reports of abrupt resignations, reassignments, and even legal challenges began to appear in once impregnable corridors of power. The ripple effects of the exposure were profound, setting in motion a cascade of reforms and a reevaluation of systems that had long been taken for granted. In the epicenter of this unfolding revolution, Musk's command center remained a beacon of calculated determination. Every analyst and team member worked with the precision of a finely tuned machine, piecing together the intricate puzzle of the network that had once thrived in the shadows. Detailed maps of financial flows, internal correspondences of conspiratorial alliances, and exhaustive records of covert operations were compiled into a comprehensive dossier. This dossier, representing the culmination of months of investigation, now stood as irrefutable evidence of the widespread abuse of power, a document that held the promise of reshaping policies and redefining the balance between freedom and control. Simultaneously, the global media landscape underwent a metamorphosis. Once compartmentalized narratives gave way to an all-encompassing exposé of the hidden forces that had manipulated world events. Independent news outlets, long marginalized by mainstream channels, found their voices amplified as they broadcast the story of a world on the brink of transformation. The media, compelled by the incontrovertible evidence, gradually shifted its tone from skepticism to a clarion call for reform. The convergence of citizen activism, investigative journalism, and technological breakthroughs had created a feedback loop of accountability, one that threatened to permanently alter the relationship between the governed and those who governed. In this historic juncture, the dismantling of the covert network emerged as a collective endeavor, a struggle not only for the reclamation of power, but for the restoration of trust in the very systems that had long been subverted. The campaign to expose corruption evolved into a broader movement for justice, one that transcended national boundaries and ideological divides. It was a movement built on the recognition that innovation and progress must never be shackled by fear, and that the freedom to explore radical ideas was fundamental to the survival of modern civilization. The digital battlefield continued to pulse with activity as Musk's team pressed forward with their mission. Each new breakthrough in decryption and data analysis was met with further challenges from forces determined to reassert their control. The conflict became one of attrition, a relentless high-stakes contest between transparency and subterfuge. Despite the mounting pressure from the countermeasures of the old guard, the resolve of those fighting for the truth remained unshaken. Deep within the recesses of secured servers and encrypted communications, the final fragments of the network's infrastructure were gradually isolated and neutralized. Every severed connection, every exposed transaction, brought the world one step closer to dismantling the insidious apparatus that had once governed so much of global life. With each passing moment, the narrative of control was rewritten, and the prospect of a future defined by open innovation and collective empowerment grew ever more tangible. The culmination of these efforts began to manifest as a palpable shift in the global order. Policymakers, once complicit in the silent orchestration of power, were compelled to confront the realities of a world where information was no longer a commodity controlled by a select few. Reforms were enacted, and new frameworks of accountability were proposed. Frameworks that recognize the transformative power of technology and the vital importance of safeguarding the freedom to innovate. As the first light of a new day crept over the horizon, the collective consciousness of the world was irrevocably altered. The network of hidden power had been exposed and, in many ways, dismantled. What remained was a promise of a future where progress was driven by the ideas and dreams of the many, rather than the secret machinations of the few. The struggle for control had reached a critical turning point, one that would determine the course of history for generations to come. In that moment, the vision of an open, accountable, and innovative future shone brightly against the backdrop of a world in transition. The battle was far from over, yet hope surged in the hearts of those who believed in the possibility of a better tomorrow. The era of silent manipulation was drawing to a close, and the dawn of a new age, one defined by transparency, responsibility, and the unwavering pursuit of progress, had begun. As the sun ascended on a transformed world, a profound sense of renewal permeated every corner of society. The relentless campaign to dismantle the clandestine network had entered its final phase, marking the culmination of months of tireless work by a global coalition of independent investigators, technology experts, and ordinary citizens awakened to the truth. In the wake of the unprecedented expose, institutions that had long operated behind veils of secrecy began a painstaking process of reform. Bureaucratic systems were overhauled, and new policies emerged that placed transparency and accountability at the forefront of governance. The era of covert manipulation was steadily receding, replaced by an unmistakable drive toward democratizing information and unleashing the full potential of human creativity. Within the secure confines of his command center, Elon Musk observed these sweeping changes with a reflective intensity. His gaze, unyielding and visionary, swept over an array of data that chronicled the rapid deconstruction of the old order. The digital maps that once detailed networks of hidden transactions now illuminated pathways toward a future where power was distributed among the people. Every severed connection, every recovered piece of incriminating evidence, was a testament to a relentless struggle, a struggle that had evolved from an isolated courtroom controversy into a monumental battle for the soul of civilization. Across the globe, the effects of the revelations resonated like ripples on a vast, interconnected pond. In bustling metropolises and remote towns alike, communities began to mobilize with an energy that defied the cynicism of the past. Grassroots organizations buoyed by the truth organized peaceful demonstrations and mass rallies, their unifying message clear: innovation, progress, and free access to information were the cornerstones of a just society. The newfound momentum catalyzed a wave of public engagement that transcended borders and cultures, binding disparate groups in a collective quest for reform. Academic institutions, tech startups, and even long-established corporations re-examined their practices, eager to contribute to an era defined by integrity and openness. At international summits and policy forums, discussions shifted away from outdated doctrines of centralized control. World leaders, pressured by an informed electorate and emboldened by the exposed corruption, began to chart new courses. Strategic partnerships formed between governments, non-governmental organizations, and private enterprises, all committed to fostering a culture of innovation unencumbered by the remnants of covert influence. Regulatory frameworks were redrafted to ensure that emerging technologies, especially those with the potential to revolutionize industries, would be developed with ethical oversight and public benefit in mind. The global dialogue was irrevocably altered, with accountability and cooperation emerging as the guiding principles of a new era. Inside the sprawling digital war rooms, teams of specialists continued their meticulous work, sifting through layers of once impenetrable encryption to recover the final vestiges of the old regime. Advanced algorithms and forensic tools, honed through countless hours of dedicated research, pieced together the remaining fragments of the network's infrastructure. Their success was not measured in isolated victories, but in the systematic disintegration of a system built on secrecy and manipulation. Every new breakthrough symbolized another step toward a future where technology served humanity openly, and where the architects of the past were held responsible for their actions. As the global network of accountability solidified, the media landscape experienced its own renaissance. Independent journalists, emboldened by the courage of whistleblowers and the power of uncovered data, filled airwaves and digital platforms with comprehensive analyses of the dismantled network. In-depth documentaries, investigative series, and scholarly debates converged to offer a panoramic view of the forces that had once controlled the narrative. The press, once subdued by the influence of conglomerates and state interests, reclaimed its role as the vigilant guardian of truth. Every story, every expose resonated as an anthem for a society determined to learn from its past and shape its destiny with honesty and resolve. In the quiet hours before dawn, as the world slowly emerged from a period of intense turbulence, the transformative impact of these events became undeniably clear. Systems that had thrived on the exploitation of secrecy were now relics of a bygone era, their collapse serving as both a warning and an inspiration. The intricate tapestry of corruption, once woven with threads of deceit and fear, had been unraveled by the collective will of those who dared to seek the truth. In its place emerged a vision of society where creativity, innovation, and ethical responsibility were not only valued but celebrated, a vision that promised to redefine progress for generations to come. For Elon Musk and his dedicated team, the journey had been arduous and fraught with peril, yet it was marked by a resolute belief in the transformative power of knowledge. The struggle had transcended personal ambition. It had become a clarion call for the liberation of ideas and the reclamation of a future once shrouded in uncertainty. In that monumental moment, when the first light of a new day broke over a world in flux, it was evident that the battle was not simply won through technological prowess or legal maneuvering. It was won through an unwavering commitment to the principles of transparency, accountability, and the unyielding pursuit of a better tomorrow. As the global order began to realign, the promise of this new age stood as a beacon of hope. The deep scars left by years of manipulation were now the foundation upon which a more equitable and progressive society could be built. In the silent determination of every reformist, in the collaborative spirit of every community, and in the visionary resolve of those who had dared to challenge the status quo, there emerged an enduring truth. The future belonged not to the few who once wielded power in the shadows, but to the many who, united in purpose, would forge a path of innovation and justice. Thus, as the narrative of a shattered old order gave way to the promise of a luminous future, the legacy of this historical struggle was etched into the collective memory of the world. The final act of dismantling the hidden network had not erased the past, but had instead illuminated a path forward, one where every breakthrough was celebrated as a victory of human spirit over the forces of oppression. The journey toward a world of open innovation and shared progress had only just begun, and with each passing moment, the promise of a future built on the pillars of truth and collective empowerment grew ever brighter. If you enjoyed this story, there's another video on screen right now. Go ahead and give it a look for an even more astonishing stories. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, that way you'll never miss our newest uploads.